Our planet has been around long before we humans or any organisms existed, but what does its future hold? Join us as we count 10 terrifying ways the world could end. Number 10. Singularity. Singularity, or technological singularity, is a hypothetical theory which suggests that at some point artificial intelligence will surpass the capabilities of humans, and will be capable of improving and redesigning itself, or creating computers and robots better than the current generation. This could then create a snowball effect where with each redesign the level of improvement and rate of improvement would increase, exceeding human intellectual capacity and control. Because of this, the eventual outcome could mean not only the end for the human race and all living organisms, but potentially the planet as well. Number 9. Space colony uprising. From America to Angola, colonies have a history of rising up against the nations that founded them. If we ever establish self-sustaining colonies on other worlds, the social and political pressures will probably be much the same. In 1973, the crew of the first American space station, Skylab, went on strike to protest against their working conditions. As with the American Revolution, the separation could be violent without being catastrophic, but an interplanetary conflict opens some grim possibilities. A self-sustaining colony could afford to unleash a planet-wide attack, such as an unstoppable bioweapon, since the consequences on Earth would have no effect on the attackers. The odds are high that there will be a political separation, low that it will be catastrophic. Number 8. Superbomb. The atomic bomb is hardly the ultimate tool of destruction. Matter-antimatter reactions are a much more effective way to tap E equals mc squared. Splitting a uranium atom converts only about 0.1% of its mass into energy, but mixing matter and antimatter is 100% efficient. About 100 pounds of antimatter would exceed the yield of all the world's atomic weapons. Fortunately, we don't know how to store more than a few atoms worth of it at a time. Another possibility, if you want to destroy the world, is to use a giant particle accelerator to fabricate a mini black hole. If it had more mass than that of a large mountain, it would be stable and would immediately sink through the ground, consuming the planet from within until there was nothing left but an Earth-mass black hole, about 1/3 of an inch wide. Number 7. Solar shutdown. Back in the 1970s, when it seemed that the sun was not emitting the expected number of particles, known as neutrinos, some solar physicists proposed that our star might go through million-year stretches of reduced activity, during which time its brightness could drop by perhaps 40%. Although the initial evidence for a solar shutdown evaporated, the mechanism remains possible. Such a dip would put our planet in a deep freeze, and in fact, paleontologists now find evidence of one such episode of extreme cold, nicknamed Snowball Earth, about 650 million years ago. If the sun dimmed significantly today, the oceans would gradually freeze solid, and most multicellular life on Earth, humans included, would probably go extinct. Number 6. Asteroid Impact. Although we've been safe from cosmic interlopers for quite some time, there's no denying that at some point, possibly in the near future, one will hit Earth. In 1908, a 200-foot wide comet fragment slammed into the atmosphere and exploded over Siberia, with nearly 1,000 times the energy of the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. Astronomers estimate similar-sized events occur every 1 to 3 centuries. Benny Pizer, an anthropologist at Liverpool John Moores University in England, claims that impacts have repeatedly disrupted human civilization. As an example, he says one killed 10,000 people in the Chinese city of Qingyang in 1490. Many scientists question his interpretations. Impacts are most likely to occur over the ocean, and small ones that happen over land are most likely to affect unpopulated areas. But with big asteroids, it doesn't matter much where they land. Objects more than half a mile wide, which strike Earth every 250,000 years or so, would touch off firestorms followed by global cooling from dust kicked up by the impact. Humans would likely survive, but civilization might not. An asteroid 5 miles wide would cause major extinctions, like the one that may have marked the end of the age of dinosaurs. For a real chill, look to the Kuiper Belt, a zone just beyond Neptune that contains roughly 100,000 ice balls, more than 50 miles in diameter. The Kuiper Belt sends a steady rain of small comets earthward. If one of the big ones headed right for us, that would be it for pretty much all higher forms of life, even cockroaches. Number 5. Black hole. Our galaxy is full of black holes, collapsed stellar corpses just a dozen miles wide. How full? Tough question. After all, they're called black holes for a reason. Their gravity is so strong that they swallow everything, even the light that might betray their presence. David Bennett of Notre Dame University in Indiana managed to spot 2 black holes recently by the way they distorted and amplified the light of ordinary, more distant stars. Based on such observations, and even more on the theoretical arguments, researchers guesstimate that there are about 10 million black holes in the Milky Way alone. These objects orbit just like other stars, meaning that it's not terribly likely that one is headed our way. But if a normal star were moving towards us, we'd know about it. With a black hole, there is little warning. A few decades before a close encounter, at most, astronomers would observe a strange perturbation in the orbits of the outer planets. As the effects grew larger, it would be possible to make increasingly precise estimates of the location and mass of the interloper. The black hole wouldn't have to come all that close to Earth to bring ruin. Just passing through the solar system would distort all of the planet's orbits. Earth might get drawn into an elliptical path that would cause extreme climate swings, or it might be ejected from the solar system and go hurtling to a frigid fate in deep space. Number 4. Gamma ray burst. If you could watch the sky with gamma ray vision, you might think you were being stalked by cosmic paparazzi. Once a day or so, you would see a bright flash appear, briefly outshine everything else, then vanish. These gamma ray bursts, astrophysicists recently learned, originate in distant galaxies and are unfathomably powerful, as much as 10 quadrillion, a 1 followed by 16 zeros, times as energetic as the Sun. The bursts probably result from the merging of 2 collapsed stars. Before the cataclysmal event, such a double star might be almost completely undetectable, so we'd likely have no advance notice if one is lurking nearby. Once the burst begins, however, there would be no missing its fury. At a distance of 1,000 light years, farther than most of the stars you can see on a clear night, it would appear about as bright as the Sun. Earth's atmosphere would initially protect us from most of the burst's deadly X-rays and gamma rays, but at a cost. The potent radiation would cook the atmosphere, creating nitrogen oxides that would destroy the ozone layer. Without the ozone layer, ultraviolet rays from the Sun would reach the surface at nearly full force, causing skin cancer, and more seriously, killing off the tiny photosynthetic plankton in the ocean that provide oxygen to the atmosphere and bolster the bottom of the food chain. All the gamma ray bursts observed so far have been extremely distant, which implies the events are rare. Scientists understand so little about these explosions, however, that it's difficult to estimate the likelihood of one detonating in our galactic neighborhood. Number 3. Alien invasion. At the SETI Institute in Mountain View, California, a group of dedicated scientists sift through radio static in search of a telltale signal from an alien civilization. So far, nothing. Now, suppose the long-sought message arrives. Not only do aliens exist, they are about to stop by for a visit, and then any science fiction devotee can tell you what could go wrong. But the history of human exploration and exploitation suggests that most likely danger is not direct conflict. Aliens might want resources from our solar system, and swat us aside if we get in the way, as we might dismiss mosquitoes or beetles stirred up by the logging of a rainforest. Aliens might unwittingly import pests with a taste for human flesh, much as Dutch colonists reaching Mauritius brought cats, rats, and pigs that quickly did away with the dodo. Or aliens might accidentally upset our planet or solar system while carrying out some kind of interstellar construction project. Number 2. Giant solar flare. Solar flares, more properly known as coronal mass ejections, are enormous magnetic outbursts on the Sun that bombard Earth with a torrent of high-speed subatomic particles. Earth's atmosphere and magnetic field negate the potentially lethal effects of ordinary flares, but while looking through old astronomical records, Bradley Schaefer of Yale University found evidence that some perfectly normal-looking, sun-like stars can brighten briefly by a factor of up to 20. Schaefer believes these stellar flickers are caused by superflares, millions of times more powerful than their common cousins. Within a few hours, a superflare on the Sun could fry Earth and begin disintegrating the ozone layer. Although there is persuasive evidence that our Sun doesn't engage in such excess, scientists don't know why superflares happen at all, or whether our Sun could exhibit milder but still disruptive behavior. And while too much solar activity could be deadly, too little of it is problematic as well. Sally Baliunas at the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics says many solar-type stars pass through extended quiescent recent periods during which they become nearly 1% dimmer. That might not sound like much, but a similar downturn in the sun could send us into another ice age. Baliunas cites evidence that decreased solar activity contributed to 17 of the 19 major cold episodes on Earth in the last 10,000 years. Number 1. Waking up and realizing it's all a dream. Are we living in a shadow existence that only fools us into thinking it's real? This age-old philosophical question still reverberates through cultural thought, from the writings of William S. Burroughs to the cinematic mind games of The Matrix. Hutt of the Institute of Advanced Studies sees an analogy to the danger of the collapse of the vacuum. Just as our empty space might not be the true, most stable form of the vacuum, what we call reality might not be the true, most stable form of existence. In the 4th century BC, Taoist philosopher Chuang-Tzu framed the question in a more poetic term. He described a vivid dream. In it, he was a butterfly who had no awareness of his existence as a person. When he awoke, he asked, "Was I before Chuang-Tzu who dreamt about being a butterfly, or am I now a butterfly who dreams about being Chuang-Tzu?" And that, my friends, is what you call deep.